Hello, you're watching Studio Ken. Make sure you don't miss any episode of Studio Ken by subscribing to the YouTube channel. To subscribe, search for Studio Ken on YouTube, click subscribe on the bottom right of your screen, and set a reminder. You can also watch Studio Ken on Diamond TV on Wednesday at 18:30 and on Saturday at 19 hours. Studio Ken, the home of Kennedy Gondwe on YouTube.
Have you ever wondered where the trees that are cut when our roads are being expanded go to? Well, some end up as firewood, while some are being transformed into admirable pieces of furniture right here in Lusaka by someone who's not even a trained carpenter. Moonga Mumba is, professionally speaking, an internal auditor with detailed experience in digital forensics. Moonga developed an interest in creatives when he was still young in secondary school. And with the passage of time, that interest has grown. And now, his yard is full of logs and roots he picks from the streets of Lusaka. And when he adds value to them, they are simply unrecognizable. He is my guest on Studio Ken today.
If you're looking for exclusive and exciting interviews, well, you've come to the right place. But do not forget to hit the subscribe button for you to subscribe to Studio Ken for those interesting insights and, of course, those one-on-ones and very, very exclusive content. So hit the like button, do the right thing, and subscribe as well.
Moonga, welcome to Studio Ken.
Thank you very much, Ken, for having me.
I'm currently looking at your bio, and as part of your resume, you are a trained internal auditor. You are the education chairperson for the Institute of Internal Auditors. You served as head risk and assurance at the National Pension Scheme Authority of Zambia. But all that begs the question, what are you doing with logs?
I'm naturally artistic. I like art, and I like blending in with nature. And everything I see around me, especially when it comes to trees, I just love the beauty of the natural environment. And growing up as a kid, I used to like making things here and there. I used to be even an expert in making wire cars as well. And most of my friends used to come asking me to make wire cars for them. And out of that, I found myself to be multi-talented in making crafts. And that's how I find myself just having that hobby and passion for working with wood.
The first time that I met you at the Copperbelt University in the late 90s, I wouldn't have expected you to be doing the kind of stuff that you're doing.
Yeah, of course. Even right now as you speak, a lot of people in my family don't even understand how I find myself making some of these crafts that I make. Just this morning, I received a message from my mother. I sent her a WhatsApp message of some of the artworks I do. She actually doesn't know that I've actually been a craftsman on the side. Yeah. Okay. In fact, when you talk about art, I also do a bit of drawing, freehand drawing, and again, going back to my childhood. At some point, I surprised my mother with an art drawing out of pencil on her birthday. I can't even remember what birthday, how old she turned then. But they still get surprised. My brothers, my sisters, my aunties, my uncles, they just get shocked at how I find myself doing this. But it's just a passion. It's a hobby. It's something that I have a natural interest in. And even when I'm driving around, everything, and some of these logs that fall naturally, I look at it, I almost like every now and then I want to stop the car to pick the logs and carry them home to go and make something. I don't know, I can't even explain it myself, I just love it.
What does it take then to be a creative? I mean, all these things that you've made for yourself here are made from trees that you don't cut. You just collect. You're driving around and then you collect the trees.
Actually, I don't even advocate for cutting of trees. In fact, all the trees that you're seeing, all these logs here, these pieces I have here, if I can mention, these logs are coming from the streets of Lusaka, and some of which were picked on the roads, those roads that were being expanded along Haile Selassie Avenue, the Great East Road, and various other roads around Lusaka. And those contractors didn't have anywhere to throw these logs. And I approached their foreman, who said, oh, well, you are a blessing in disguise, because it was going to be very expensive for us to go and formally dispose them off at the local authority disposal site. So all they told me was, if you have transport, you are free to come and pick as many logs as possible. And that's how I started picking them one by one, and I've piled them outside my yard there. And that's how these logs come to be. And I continue picking logs around the streets when I'm going for work. I won't mention where I work, but
For whatever reason, you don't want to mention where you work.
knocking off, I'll pick the logs around the streets, and people even sometimes think I'm crazy or something. Even in my neighborhood, they thought that I was just making the neighborhood a bit scruffy. But when they saw the works I was doing, some of them have even offered to buy some of the pieces I make. And that's how I find my logs.
Okay. But what does it take for you to have such a mindset of creating something beautiful from things that are being thrown all over the place?
I'll tell you one thing. It takes one to have a passion. And when you have a passion for what you're doing, it just flows seamlessly. It just goes naturally. It's like being a footballer. If you just like playing with football, you just focus, you put your head to it. You know, the way those guys play around with the ball and all that. It's a passion. If you don't have a passion for it, you can't perfect the skill. And that's how it comes to be, even in my case. Because I look at something and I say, oh, this one, I think the way the log is presenting itself, I can work around it and make a wine holder. And the wine holder
Like
comes to be.
we've got here.
Yeah. You get to see these side tables. I see some old log somewhere. And then I say, okay, I can make something out of it. I slice it a bit. I look at the slice. Somehow an idea pops up that let me just make it a bit unique. I want to make it stand on a chain. And there it is. Some thoughts come into my mind. You know, just like the way an artist operates. If I ask a musician, how do you just come to sing such a beautiful song? You have to be in the mindset of the artist for you to understand how that song comes to be, and putting, at what point should they play the flute or the saxophone, at what point should they beat the drum or the bongos or something like that. It's art, it's a passion, and just the knack to continuously improve your skill. The more you do it, you find that it gets better and you get more hooked to it. And I think that's the way it is. Because if I tell you the first piece I ever made was just a log, I cut a log into a big, thick stew. And from there, it started growing. I can make almost anything out of wood. But I must say that most of my works are not fine art, it's abstract. So I go with the way the wood is presenting itself, and then I work around the wood.
Why have you taken that path? Because most of the furniture that we see, especially in these stores, is refined furniture. You can tell.
It's not something that everybody does. I think it's not something that is very common. But I find, much as it is not common, it's something that I've found interesting, because it keeps my mind working. It keeps my mind active. It keeps me awake into how do I make something unique out of nothing, something presentable out of nothing. That's the way it is. So it's like, how do you find a musician, this musician sings reggae, the other one singing jazz music, the other one sings kalindula, but when you listen to that music, all of it is nice. You have to create your differentiator in somehow.
What satisfaction do you draw from what you make? I mean, for a person who spent 4 years, you've got 2 degrees doing something else, you seem to be so satisfied and obsessed with what you do. Our parents usually wire us in such a way that, look, the only way out for you to make it successful in life is by attaining a certain level of education.
And precisely, and talking about education, it's very important. That's P1, and it's because of education that you get yourself, your mind opening up. And out of opening up, you find that there are certain interests that you have that are inherent in you. Education is an external, how can I put it? It's an external additive to your life that helps you leap into earning a living. Some people do get educated, but you find that what they do in their real life is not anything close to what they even studied in class. I know of certain lawyers that have become radio station owners in Zambia. They've got a passion for it. I've got a passion for education, and education is very, very important for you to get a certain grounding in life. And that's what actually has brought me to where I am. As an originally studying a Bachelor of Business Administration, and then it got me into formal employment, which I'm still formally employed. But on the side, as a hobby, as an interest, I do this to relax my mind. Much as you've seen some of these bottles here, I hardly take any.
Okay.
And it's not to mean that after this discussion we're going to have some big party somewhere. No.
Fair enough.
But what helps me going, with the stresses of work, when I get back home, it just completely cuts me off the formal environment and listening to the machines running, the grinding of the wood and the polishing of the wood. It just keeps me off the formal work, and it refreshes my mind every time. It's like, not to give a queer example, a chain smoker, when they are stressed in the office, they want to go and puff a few cigarettes here and there. It relaxes them in their own way. Me, this is my cigarette. And this is what relaxes me. That's what makes me unwind.
Where do you get the most satisfaction? Your formal job or this?
That's a tough one. I would say I love what I do even at work. I love it with a big passion. Because the nature of work I do helps me, it takes me into a different world altogether. It helps me understand the business environment. It helps me understand the things that people do wrong in a business, and you try to correct them by giving advisory notes to people, to organizations, and I get a lot of satisfaction out of it. But one has to balance up life. Sticking to one thing. And by the way, I only do this after I knock off, when I have the time, if I'm not too tired. But weekends, I get myself busy with that, with the woods, and if I don't have carry over work from my official work. So I balance it off like that. But I spend more time in my formal job than this artwork that I do. But the artwork also is satisfactory in that I also give back to the community. I'm not a trained carpenter, by the way. It's just the passion. And then I've got, in where I live, I've got, there's some small villages around where I see a lot of these young boys doing nothing. So I've gotten them to help to train them, giving them the skills, teaching them how to handle these carpentry tools that I use, to the point where I want them to have something to do even when I'm not there. And I've got at least 3 or so guys that have gotten to the level where I know that they can go and set up their own business somewhere doing the similar crafts. Maybe you might be surprised that one of these guys you see in the street selling such logs are actually trained by myself.
Why your clients?
Well, it's just the normal, ordinary Zambians that come round, people that come round. I've had a few people, some of the people I've shared my works with, they have sent it to some of their friends out to Rwanda, Burundi, and some people have actually called me from out there to get a few pieces, or they even describe what they want to be done for them. I make the stuff, it's sent over there. And locally, it's just the normal, ordinary people around the country.
And what is the demand like for what you make?
That's a shocking thing that I also couldn't believe it. Because when I started, it's just a small thing that I was making for my house, and a few other things I was making for my house. And then I receive guests. They start pointing at this item, that item, and then I tell them this is actually out of my own hands. They started offering to buy those items. And from then on, I don't know how information just went all the way until I find myself with Studio Ken. Whoever told you?
It's a small world. So, what range of products do you make?
I wouldn't say I have any specific range of products. It's about what comes out of what I see and what my imagination, I stretch my imagination to, I don't know. So I'll look at something, I can make a table out of a log. I can make a wine holder. This is a piece of log with wheels. I just polished it nicely, cut it, sliced, a thick slice, and it's a center table for the house. This one behind is an abstract. So I wouldn't say there's any specialization at all, but it's about what I want to do at a particular time when I stretch my imagination. Yeah, because you see, these, I had cut them for my madam, so that they could be like serving plates for steak and all that. Then suddenly from nowhere, an idea came that this can actually be turned into another item than it just being used for meat eaters. But let it be a coffee table that can be decorative in the house. You use it for water. So there's really nothing very specific, if I can say.
Generally speaking, there are a lot of imported products in stores. And there are also people like yourselves that want to make something that is unique. And therein lies a competition. How, generally speaking, do people in your field compete with the imported products?
One thing that I've discovered is that people love quality. And once you do something to that level of quality, I think people are ready to pay for what they see and the quality they see. You make something substandard, the market would determine itself. That's what I can tell you.
Okay.
Whatever it is that we see, and in fact for me that was one of my key inspirations. I've seen some very few, one or two shops around Lusaka that actually do this kind of furniture. But very good quality furniture, I must say. Going to try to buy from there, I came out with my purse still having money, because the money that was in the purse wasn't enough to get that. And I thought to myself, I don't think I need to go and buy such a thing when I know that I can make this. And that's how I now started expanding my horizon into further imagination. Now, out of that, the shop gives you a limited choice. For me, you tell me what you want, and I will design it at least as close as possible, if not even beyond what you are imagining. That's the unique feature that you find. So the competition, I would not say really there is direct competition. There is always somebody coming up out there, but I stick to my lane and what I do best with my imagination, and people love it.
And how important is it for people like yourselves to stick to attention to detail? I mean, you would go to different carpenters or creatives as you want. To them, it's just about creating something because they want the money. But clearly, the one thing that I see in your products is there's so much detail.
You know, when you naturally pay attention to detail, it just goes without saying. In everything you do, you find that detail follows you, whatever you do. So it's very important that when you are doing something, you really give it your best, however small it is. And you will not realize how that little detail impresses some big person somewhere. And there is Studio Ken, he's coming all the way here. Big
Small
person,
there.
right?
Small, not small.
I also can't believe that Mr. Ken took time to come and talk to me about these items that I just make in the backyard. You've seen where I make my stuff. Just right.
Very soon I will be going to see it. Yeah.
Stay in the background, just in the backyard. But when I sit there in my work suit, I mean it.
Yeah.
And when I'm working on it, I make it like it's going to be my item. I make it for myself, not for somebody else. And that's how important quality is. And for every business person, every person that is trying to make something for sale or a service, you have to make that service like, imagine yourself on the other side. I'm the one who wants that product. And if it comes with a shoddy finish, how would I feel? That's exactly what drives the quality.
And lastly, before we go to see how you go about your work, how can people like yourselves coexist with the government in order to further develop the creatives industry?
I think there is a very big opportunity right now for creative minds, particularly that there's a very big drive on going back to the grassroots. I've read in the media, even in the budget speech, the most recent budget speech that was done for 2022 by the minister in 2021, October, decentralizing the distribution of the constituency development fund all the way to, and even increasing it. That's one aspect. Already the government is speaking to me that I have provided, that's the government now telling me, that's the way I'm interpreting it. I have created an enabling environment for you. Take advantage of it. On the other hand, there's a deliberate ministry that has been established for small enterprises. And obviously, that is again speaking directly into people that are creative in their small, small corners. Those guys that do welding in Garden, in Kalingalinga, every other street corners, all the markets. It's actually pointing to that. The government has given us a platform, which means that you can walk into the government office and get the idea, sell your idea, and go to your constituency office, go to wherever, at least connected to the government. That idea won't just go unnoticed. And I think that's the way we can just bring them out and go to the right office. We know already every ministry is represented across the country. So it's up to us, the creative minds, to make sure that we take advantage of that enabling environment that the government has put across. But we must also bear in mind that the government is not one to pick a spoon and give us in our mouths. We must follow the environment that the government has established for us to make sure that we take advantage of it and we grow in our spaces. If you look at other countries, I want to mention a country like China. When you go to that country, it's not the multi-big companies that are running that economy. It's the very small guy who just makes a small LED light, connecting it there. And there are several of them doing that. Suddenly they are making LED lights for cars. They are put together and they are supplying to a big car manufacturer. And that's what it means.
And how do you hope to beat the demand? Should it happen that so many people are wanting your products, you've got a full-time job and this is just your pastime?
That's why I'm training people. And I've got enough space in terms of workspace for doing a small workshop or something of that nature, but without compromising on quality. But I'm focusing a lot more on training people that can do the work, with me being the creative person behind the scenes. Yeah. But I like being hands-on. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Moonga.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. Yeah. After collecting the tree stump, which has a root feature at the bottom, we showed you how we process it to clean it out, to make sure that it doesn't have any mites or any insects that can eat into the root. So we burn it a bit so that all those unwanted elements are cleared off the root. Then that's when we start the polishing process that you saw earlier. Then we do the fine polishing and all the components are treated in their separate styles. Then what you saw me polishing there and the guys polishing, this is what ultimately the objective is supposed to be. We have a fine, smooth finish of a glass feature, which is more or less like a river illusion effect when you look at it. And we use the epoxy mix to do our decorative blue stream on the table. But ultimately, it will shine even at the bottom here, so that it becomes a fine polish like the way it is looking on the top there, and we assemble it together. So that's the whole idea of the coffee table and the root table that you saw there. So this we can even make into a dining table, a big one with the roots legs like that. And then as we continue polishing, we have different items that we make, just running out of the ideas that we have created within ourselves here. And then that's the suspended table. The suspended table, which has a chain support feature, an illusion like it's just being supported by chains. There's a bit of physics there, and we just lent it ourselves, and then we have made it stable, which is just supported by chains. And you can see that it has a bit of a shake for that particular effect, because it's just supported by chains all along its strength of standing like that. But you can put drinks, you can put Nshima there and anything else, but except that wouldn't encourage anyone to stand on it. This is another coffee table, a decorative table that we've just want to showcase how it would appear when it's placed in the house. All these made by ourselves, including the stand. We do all the welding ourselves. This particular piece of timber was just picked from one of the streets in Lusaka, where I found someone burning it, and I asked them not to burn it, and I negotiated with them to just say, please don't damage the timber, and let's see what we can do with it. And that is this one. And then this other one, again from somebody who was constructing somewhere. They had uprooted some trees. It was very expensive for them to go and get them disposed of, the same logs that they had removed from the plot. So we helped them dispose them off by asking them to give them to us. And we just transported all the logs and some of the pieces. This is what we made out of them. This is actually a coffee table, one of my favorites. And this is another item that we created, which is a bench. And this can be used as an outdoor bench or even an indoor bench. As you can see here, it's just on the dining. And then you can even use it as a poolside bench. And also, this one was out of a tree trunk that was just thrown somewhere. It was being eaten by termites. And we polished it up, and it's now being used as a dining bench. And we've done it with some belts to hold it together. And this will last you a lifetime with the way we've done it. Yeah.
If you're looking for exclusive and exciting interviews, well, you've come to the right place. But do not forget to hit the subscribe button for you to subscribe to Studio Ken for those interesting insights and, of course, those one-on-ones and very, very exclusive content. So hit the like button, do the right thing, and subscribe as well.